Alright, so we had a slight hiccup there. My camera died, so I had to go grab another one. But, anyways, so I got some epoxy down in my hole here for my rear tang screw, and then my front screw, some actually popped through there. So what I usually do next is run these screws through there. So here's my front one, and I usually do my front one first because if I can get my front one in and screwed in, then that'll hold my my action in, and then I can do the rear one. So you just kind of slowly twist it in there, let it fall, and then we'll turn it over here. So there I can, well, you can't see it there, but you can see there's a knob there. So I turn it a little bit. But so what I do next is I usually clean that off, get some of that stuff out of there, clean it out of the way, because what I'm going to do next is I'll set the action in here, and then what I don't want to happen is all that epoxy to go up into my screw hole. So I kind of clean this out best I can. You know, you're going to get a little up in there. It's not a big deal. It's going to happen. So while I'm holding that in place, here's kind of the tricky part that I find. Kind of set it in. I'm going to switch hands here real quick if the screw will stay in there. And then you can kind of feel it go in there if you're lucky. I don't know if I'm lucky right now or if I'm having problems. There we go. So I'm getting that screwed in there, and then I did it by hand, and then I'll turn over on the side here and I'll just finish screwing it in. I'll get it kind of snug because I still got to do the back one. So it's not real tight, but and I'm not getting a bunch of squish out, so I didn't quite get enough in there, but I know I got enough down in there, and I got some tight spots on the side here, so it might not come through all the way. So I'm going to go back here to the rear screw, get my fancy trigger guard back on here, and that's a super tight fit, so poke that guy back in there and kind of twist it as it goes down, because when you twist it, you're gonna get, hopefully you'll get some of that stuff to fall in line in your hole and kind of fill in there. Ooh. And that's what you want to watch out for too, is all that. So you got a big blob there. That's one good thing about when you tape your stocks off. And this DevCon is kind of sticky to get it all over everything, so just clean that off a little one. Just get the most of it off of there, and we'll go through and clean it up some more here. So now I can crank this baby down and try not to let it come out. See my fancy spacers there, and my front screw and my rear screw. And they make stock maker screws for these, which make life a lot easier, because if for some reason you get a stuck screw, it really sucks to try and crank these guys out with a screwdriver. And if you get them really stuck, you sometimes got to use like an impact driver. So I'll just crank these down until they're snug, and then we should be bedded. I mean, now all you got to do is kind of clean all this stuff up, and what I try and do is go through, and if I got a little extra, I'll try and fill some of these gaps. Like I got a gap, you guys can't see it, but I got a gap back here, so I'll try and fill that in with some of my extra stuff. And this particular receiver with this stock, there's usually, well, if you do it right and you get new wood, you usually don't have to do this because you can fit it, but this is an older one, so like I said, we'll do with what we got. And everything looks pretty good, except I got a little along the front here that I want to fill in, just between the barrel. Everything along here is pretty good. I got a little bit along the side here, I'll just fill in with a Q-tip. I got a little under the bolt here from the previous action. So, the Q-tip, they work good. To just kind of fill stuff in. And these aren't, you know, this is all just visual right here. I mean, I don't really need to do this, but I don't want to have a big hole there. So now it's just the fun part, you know, cleaning all these edges up and making them look nice. So, and you gotta make sure when you clean these edges off that when you pull the action out, you're not gonna crack your bedding when you pull it out. So just make sure you don't have stuff overlapping. So I'll just kind of clean this up and make sure I got all my little tiny spots filled in, and then when I crack it out, I'll make another video and I'll finish it up. Alrighty, so here we are again. This thing sat for about 36 hours. So it should be nice and dry. One thing I forgot to mention, and what I did with this before, is I came back about 12 hours after I bedded it and I popped these screws loose. I just turned them about a quarter turn and turned them back in. And so I made sure they didn't stick. I mean, by then you're pretty much set anyways, so. And then also, when I inlet these, I inlet the barrel kind of tight so that barrel will sit on the wood. And then after it's bedded, I come back. That one popped out. I come back and free float the barrel. So I'll just unscrew this here and we'll pop it out and see what it looks like. So that came out good. All the release agent worked the way it's supposed to. And I even had a little piece come out from underside of the action. And I can't see it there, but I'll take this trigger guard off too. See what that looks like. That looks pretty good. So, how I pop these things out is I got a wood bench here. I grab onto the stock and I just tap the barrel onto the wood, and it usually comes apart. So there, popped loose. So there. Now an easy thing to do is sometimes stick the bolt in there so you can get some more leverage, and mine usually end up being pretty tight. So there we go. Popped out pretty good. Okay. Here's all my plumber's putty I put in there, and you can reuse that if you want. Got a little gap on the side here, but all the back end and everything is filled in good. And so yeah, there we go. So what do I do now is I clean all this up, and then I'll free float the barrel, and then we can finish the stock. So that's kind of how I do it. It's the basic gist of it. So there you go, inletting a stock.